Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick, and this is my first video. Hope you guys are tuning in because today I will be, well, rather, tonight I will be talking about drunk driving and just how dangerous it is and how stupid people have to be to drink and drive. So let me get you some stats just to show you how outrageous driving drunk is. It's absolutely crazy and it should not happen anywhere. But it's especially a problem here in America. And this crisis needs to be resolved immediately and diminished. We need to lower the number of people, innocent people, keep in mind, innocent people dying in car crashes related to drunk driving. Now, there are other forms of those crashes, including cell phones, if you're distracted driving, rather. You know, it claims so many lives, but I don't want to do this without backing it up with facts, so I'll save that for another video. Also, seatbelt use, there are many drivers out there who don't wear their seatbelts. Both lap and shoulder belts are there to help protect you and save your life in the event that there isn't an accident that's very unforgiving. And speeding. I get it, we're young, like to speed, but manage your speed. uh, you know, uh, Go at a relative pace. There's no need to go too fast because you'll just endanger the lives of other people. But anyways, my video is on drunk driving, my monologue, not about the other things. So let's get started with this drunk driving because it's outrageous how many people are being killed. Oh, and before I start my monologue, let me just tell you something horrible that just happened this weekend. All right, so an 18-year-old young lady from South Carolina. She was killed by a drunk driver. Her name is Trinity Harrison. Just 18 years old. Was on her way home from prom and was a vehicle driven by her sister was struck by a drunk driver named Carson Owen, 27 years old, and a thug and an idiot who should have known not to get behind the wheel while driving drunk. I just don't get it. And she lost her life. It's deeply troubling. And it should not be happening. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so let's take a look at these facts. And I'm just going to move my laptop over slightly. So that way you can kind of see my face. There you go. So, alright, so these are the stats. Drunk driving involvement in fatal crashes in 2017 was almost 4 times higher at night than during the day. During the day, drunk driving involvement in fatal crashes was at 9%, as opposed to at nighttime. During the night, that number was at 32%. Can you believe it? 32% of those accidents involved drunk drivers. Over 1.1 million drivers were arrested in 2014 for driving under the influence of alcohol or narcotics or alcohol. Crazy. See, doesn't make any sense. All right. Only time will sober a person up. Drinking strong coffee, exercising, or taking a cold shower will not help. Almost half of all drivers who were killed in crashes and tested positive for drugs also had alcohol in their system. Not too surprising. The drug showing the greatest increase among drivers from 2007 to 2013 and 2014 was marijuana, also known as THC. The percentage of THC positive drivers increased from 8.6% in 2007 to 12.6% in 2013 and 2014, a proportional increase in 47%. And that is disturbing. That number needs to drop. This is why more lives are being lost. That's just for marijuana. And the source that I'm getting this from, by the way, is from www.madd.org/statistics. Speaking of which, since 1980, MAD has saved 380,000 lives and counting. I kind of wish that number was higher, but at least they saved a lot of lives. That is a good thing. The rate of drunk driving is highest among 26 to 29-year-olds at 20.7%. I'm going to be 26 in 5 years. Will you see me driving drunk? Nope. Because I don't drink. Adults drank too much and drove about 121 million times per year. Over 300,000 incidents of drinking and driving a day. Can you believe this? 300,000 incidents of drinking and driving. I'm not kidding you. A day. This is a real problem. Let's keep going. Impairment is not determined by the type of drink, but rather by the amount of alcohol drunk over time. That makes sense. You could be having a tequila, but you're still drunk. Or if you have a couple beers or wine or liquor or whatever, but you're still drunk after drinking. So it's just how much alcohol you drank. In 2017, 9% of all drivers involved in fatal crashes during the day were drunk, compared to 32% at night. I think we covered that, but that's still very important. In addition, almost twice as many alcohol-related traffic fatalities occurred during the weekends compared to weekdays. So, folks, if you were driving on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday night, just be aware, because 32%. Wow. So I guess maybe that's on average. So 32%, I guess, on average. but it's bad. In 2013, 28.7 million people admitted to driving under the influence of alcohol. That's more than the population of Texas. 28.7 million people. And I wish I could tell those 28.7 million people that they're going to end up killing someone if they don't stop drinking. But will they listen? No. Not unless they actually hear what I'm saying right now. They can't listen. And it's terrible. I wish they would listen. It's deeply troubling. That's like, what? 10 to 15%, maybe up to 20%? I don't know. It's a pretty high number. 29 million people driving drunk just in 1 year. In 2017, a total of 1,147 children, 14 and younger. Keep in mind, these are children. 1,147 were killed in motor vehicle traffic crashes. Of those 1,147 fatalities, 220, 19%, occurred in alcohol-impaired driving crashes. Out of those 220 deaths, 118, 54%, were occupants of vehicles with drivers who had BACs of 0.08 or higher. 71 children, 32%, were occupants of other vehicles, possibly the opposing vehicle. And yet another 29 children, 13%, or pedestrians, or pedal cyclists struck by drivers with BACs of 0.08 or higher. And the remaining 1%, were drivers. I can't imagine kids at 13 and 14 driving. But it's staggering. 220 kids. That's one either like 2 or 3 times a week every day, otherwise every other day. It's pathetic. Now, this next statistic you need to hear. Over 40% of all 10th graders drink alcohol. You heard that right. Over 40% of all 10th graders drink alcohol. There's nothing wrong with drinking alcohol as long as you don't drive. It's simple. If you drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Even preschoolers understand that. And I'll be mentioning that throughout the video. The average person metabolizes alcohol at the rate of 1 drink per hour. And if you're a man, it'll be a little slower. If you're a woman, it'll be a little faster. Because of body density. About a quarter of car crashes with teens, 25% of those crashes with teens, involve an underage drinking driver. Ninety-five percent of the 14 million people who are alcohol dependent began drinking before the legal age of 21. This is absolutely mind-boggling. Here's something also shocking. An average drunk driver has driven drunk over 80 times before their first arrest. They shouldn't be driving at all. Somebody should stop them and ask whether or not they have drank. If they have, maybe they won't admit it, but if they have, then give up the keys. 80 times, not 8, not once, but 80 times. All right. Anyways, every day in America, another 30 people die as a result of drunk driving crashes. That's one person every 48 minutes. Wow. Drunk driving costs each adult in the United States over $500 per year. But it's more about lives than money. Drugs other than alcohol, for example, marijuana and cocaine, are involved in about 18% of motor vehicle driver deaths. This isn't just about drunk driving, it's also about driving under the influence. Driving under the influence includes driving under the influence of drugs, not just alcohol. Each day, people drive drunk more than 300,000 times. But only 2,800 of those people are arrested. Can't arrest everyone, right? Wish we could, but I don't get it. 2,800 out of those 300,000. Wow. What is that? Not even 1%. All right. In 2017, 15% of all drivers involved in fatal crashes during the week were drunk, compared to 28% on weekends. Wow. Not surprising, but saddening. In the United States, the number of drunk driving deaths has been cut in half since MAD was founded in 1980. All right. And by the way, that's the website that I'm referring to right now. 50 to 75% of convicted drunk drivers continue to drive on suspended license. Crazy. They don't care. They don't care about human life. It doesn't make any sense. Here's something that's shocking. Over a quarter of 8th graders, keep in mind, 13 to 14 years old, over 25% of them have tried alcohol. Wow, what a good example. More than a third of teens mistakenly believe they drive better under the influence of marijuana. In fatal crashes in 2017, the highest percentage of drunk drivers was for drivers ages 21 to 24 at 27%, followed by ages 25 to 34 at 26%, and then 35 to 44 at 23%. And that's for fatal crashes, not for total drunk drivers. In 2013, 9.9 million people, 3.8% of the population, reported driving under the influence of illicit drugs. This was highest among 18 to 25-year-olds, where 10.6% reported driving under the influence of illicit drugs. Now, about 1 in 7 teens binge drinks. Let me say that again. About 1 in 7 teens binge drinks. Yet, only 1 in 100 parents believe his or her teen binge drinks. About 4,000 drivers are killed each year with drugs in their systems. This doesn't count those who had drugs in their system without test results, or those killed by drivers with drugs in their system. Every 2 minutes, a person is injured in a drunk driving crash. And it goes up really quick. Kids who start drinking young are 7 times more likely to be involved in an alcohol-related crash. Sad, but it makes sense. Destructive path. Every day, about 800 people are injured in a drunk driving crash. MAD compassionately provides a supportive service to a victim every 3 minutes. Here's a study from 2010. 57% of fatally injured drivers had alcohol and or drugs in their system. 57% had alcohol or drugs in their system. 17% had both. About 1/3 of all drivers arrested or convicted of drunk driving are repeat offenders. All right. In 2017, 3 times as many males were arrested for drunk driving as females. 569,148 males versus 195,421 females. Alcohol levels above the legal limit were found in 21% of such drivers. All right. During weekday daytime, 12.1% of drivers tested positive for an illegal drug. 10.3% tested positive for prescription and OTC medications. During weekend nighttime, 15.2% of drivers tested positive for an illegal drug. 7.3% tested positive for prescription OTC medications. I wonder why that number is lower than that 10.3%. But the other number for the illegal drug, goes up by 3%. All right. Almost 7% of drivers, mostly under age 35, who were involved in fatal traffic crashes, tested positive for THC, the principal ingredient in marijuana. On average, 2 in 3 people will be involved in a drunk driving crash in their lifetime. And let me say that again. Can't believe this is real. On average, 2 in 3 people will be involved in a drunk driving crash in their lifetime. That is probably the most shocking statistic yet. So I have a 67% chance that while I'm driving, I'm randomly going to get struck by a drunk driver. Or I could be driving drunk. I don't know. That statistic, nonetheless, is extremely shocking. Appears that most of those people were injured or not injured as opposed to being killed. All right. MAD has helped save nearly 30,000 young lives through passage of the 21 minimum drinking age law. That's good. Each day, people drive drunk more than 300,000 times, but only about 3,200 are arrested. I think we already saw that one, except it said 2,800. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that number was at 2,800. But it's roughly 3,000. So that's 1% of all drunk drivers. Not enough. Not nearly enough. In 2014, 10.1 million people reported driving under the influence of illicit drugs in the past year. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Youth who start drinking before age 15 years are 6 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence or abuse later in life than those who begin drinking at or after age 21 years. I believe we have 6 more. In 2017, 10,874 people died in drunk driving crashes, one every 48 minutes, and more than 300,000 were injured in drunk driving crashes. We want to definitely lower that number. In 2017, there were 4 male alcohol-impaired drivers involved in crashes for every female alcohol-impaired driver involved. 8,022 males versus 1,944 females. 4 more statistics. And I promise you, there will be a breather and then a monologue. More than 22% of drivers tested positive for illegal prescription or over-the-counter drugs in blood and or oral fluid tests. Drunk driving costs the United States $132 billion a year. Teen alcohol use kills 4,300 people each year. That's more than all illegal drugs combined. And then some statistic on alcohol itself. A standard drink is defined as 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits, which contain the same amount of alcohol. Obviously, beer is the weakest, wine is in the middle, and then distilled spirits are strongest. That's why you drink the least amount of it and you drink the most amount of beer. As long as you don't drive. Alright. That's it for statistics. Let's stretch. Alright, I guess now it's about time for me to put on chat, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure if it's gonna work or not, but we'll see. Alrighty. I have no idea where I should adjust this to, but I think I'm kind of centered. I don't know. But you'll now hear my voice on this issue. Alright. So, I have one question in mind. Why do people drive drunk? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. For preschooler, no. Alright, let me put it this way. A preschooler can be taught very easily that drinking alcohol, doing drugs, and driving don't mix. That's common sense. Yet these statistics are shocking. If you recall, I told you about Trinity and it's really upsetting. Her name is Trinity Harrison, 18 years old, killed by a drunk driver. I just don't get it. It never made any sense to me why drivers would go out on the road with alcohol in their systems. Like, how does that even make any sense? I know that, you know, drinking is, you know, drinking too much can be toxic for the body, right? And so everybody metabolizes alcohol differently, but usually you'll start seeing different effects at the level of alcohol, the corresponding level of alcohol. So let me see if I can find something on here. Um, oh man, this is well, think do I have that? I well, anyways, while the alcohol affects the body, especially these different parts, the arteries, the veins, blood, the kidneys, your heart, your stomach, and your liver. But what it affects most, even without those, is your brain. Symptoms include blurred vision. Can you possibly drive with blurred vision? It would be very hard. You would not be able to concentrate. Slurred speech. Can't communicate. Loss of coordination. And here's a big one, reduced perception. Well, those are just a few of the symptoms of, you know, drinking alcohol. If you really feel like you just can't concentrate or whatever, you've been having a tough time and gotta drink. By the way, I don't drink. So, I, you know what? It's just not healthy for my body. I really am not interested in drinking alcohol. I mean, you get temporary pleasure out of it, but you wake up with a hangover and it's not fun. And I don't ever want to wake up with a hangover. I've heard those stories. It's not good. But seriously, it affects not even just driving, but it affects day to day activities. And same with drugs. You know, if you're under the influence of drugs, you're you're gonna have similar symptoms, especially the reduced perception, and you'll start acting erratically. Alcohol depresses the body, but drugs stimulate the body. So when you're driving drunk, you're basically driving while sleeping. That's basically what it's like. I heard something about, you know, being driving drunk is like being blindfolded and driving through 5 football fields, something like that, the length. If anyone can refresh my memory on that, that would be great. Um, it's just, I don't get it. I'm not judging anyone who drinks and does drugs. Like, you can get help at your own accord. But drinking and driving is a whole another issue. It's not only affecting you, it's affecting those around you. No parent or family member should ever have to bury their loved one because of someone who was killed by a drunk driver. Never. It's crazy that we accept drunk driving as the norm and we can just kind of move on from it. Like it's no big deal. And I've never quite understood, why do people drive drunk? Why do people drive under the influence of drugs, alcohol? Well, maybe they're having a bad day. They're in a bad mood. They're depressed. They lost a family member. Or maybe they've had alcohol issues throughout their whole life, or drug issues. It could be a whole variety of things. But the point is, if you're feeling down or depressed or sick or something, go get help. And you could get chauffeurs to help you. This doesn't have to be about other people. You know, that this should be focusing on you. But honestly, I just don't understand why this stuff happens. I feel like these, not even just drunk driving crashes, but all these crashes that kill innocent people. You know, these people who are killed, you know, they're innocent. They don't expect to die. They're living their life one minute, and then the next minute, their life is gone. You just never know when something that bizarre is going to happen. You just, life is so short. I get that you have to live life to the fullest. I get that. But there's also responsibility for people out there to, you know, be responsible. You know, just follow these two concepts. If you drink, don't drive. Or if you're on drugs, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink or do drugs beforehand or during. If you're going to drink or do drugs, get a designated driver who is sober. Because chances are, if you get behind the wheel, you're going to get into an accident. You just have to assume the worst. That you're either going to get injured or killed, or you're going to injure or kill someone else innocent, like Trinity Harrison. It's not fair to her family that you know she's gone. She can't wake up anymore and enjoy life. All because of an idiotic drunk driver who chose to get behind the wheel knowingly while under the influence. Driving under the influence is a terrible idea, and it will be a grave mistake. So, here's the thing. This bothers me so much. I hate when these suspects cry in court saying, I didn't mean to kill them. Don't come crying to them. They're not going to care about what you have to say. You ultimately made the decision to drink or do drugs before driving, and ultimately that cost someone else's life. All because of your actions. You are the sole perpetrator. You are at fault for what happened. And yes, I get it. You want to apologize, and you're young and stupid. But you should have learned this in your driver's ed class. I mean, even if you didn't, it's just common sense. I mean, how stupid could people be to drink and drive or do drugs and drive or not drive without a seatbelt or drive on their phones texting or whatever. But drunk driving is a troubling epidemic in this country. No other country compares to the death rate that we have. So seriously, let's do something about this. We need people to step up to the game and, show that, they're going to be responsible and not drink and drive because it's dangerous and stupid and it's very risky. It will end up costing someone else's life. You never know. It could cost one of my family members' lives or one of your family members' lives. So don't think that it's okay for you or your family member to drink and drive or do drugs and drive. Specifically, drive under the influence. You have to think before you act. I'm going to be saying this throughout my monologues. You just have to think. Think about what you are going to do before you do it. You may have impulsively decided that, oh, I'm not feeling good, I'm going to drink, and then you decide you have to go to the market. You know what? Skip that trip. Taking care of yourself is more important than going out to the liquor store to buy yourself another drink. Just don't do it. Just skip it. There's no need to risk other lives out on the road. And if you plan on driving, then just don't drink. It's that simple. But Unfortunately, millions of people drive under the influence, and it's become a very serious epidemic in this country. I'm just taking stuff in. Just giving my voice a rest. What I'm doing right now is actually thinking about what might happen, thinking about all the possibilities that could happen. And you have to assume that the worst case scenario is going to happen. No matter what, let me just remind you, no matter how tough you think you are not invincible. You are vulnerable, just like everyone else is. You may be the toughest wrestler or football player or cheerleader, but that does not make you invincible. Ideally, everyone is at the same risk of being involved in the crash as the other person, but don't think that you can get away with drinking or driving under the influence and not get into an accident. Don't think that way. You have to think the worst case scenario. If I drink, something bad is going to happen if I go behind the wheel. You just have to think like that. I'm not trying to be negative, but I want you guys to get a sense of reality, because the truth is, people notice when you're driving drunk, and bad things happen to good people. And sometimes people just don't even care. And it makes me so angry. Like, how could you not care about human life? There's millions, hundreds of millions, and you're going to risk their lives, put their lives in jeopardy? It's not worth it. Sorry if I'm coughing a lot. I'm just been using my voice so much. It's kind of parched. So let me close with this. Just remember, before you get behind the wheel, and by the way, if you don't take anything that I said from those statistics, listen to this. Before you get behind the wheel, ask yourself this question. Just think and ask yourself, do I plan on drinking? Okay. All right. Well, then, do you plan on driving? All right. So, like I said, 29 million people in 1 year admitted to driving under the influence. So, if you answered yes to both of those questions, I am urging you to reconsider. And if you're lying to me, then a good idea. It's not bad for me, it's just bad for you. Because I don't want anything to happen to good people or anyone, decent human beings. They don't deserve this. So if you don't take away anything from this, just take away this simple concept. Two simple concepts. If you are going to drink or do drugs, then don't drive. If you plan on driving, being a designated driver, don't drink or do drugs. It's that simple. It is really that simple. Thank you, everyone, for watching my stream. It was a really tough first video that I made, but hopefully I will limit my monologues, make them much shorter, just so that capacity-wise I can, fit my videos and all that. But make sure you hit the like button and comment if you have anything to offer, because I know there's saddening drunk driving stories out there. And if you want to follow my other material that I'll be posting on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. And I promise you, this video, I agree, was boring. So I will make a video that's a lot more productive. This is an intro video. And will I make another drunk driving awareness video? Absolutely. This is just preliminary. And I don't expect this to be the final product. It's way too long, and I was ranting too much on things. I stumbled, I stuttered, not that I regret using the facts, but it's just, I don't know, it's a lot. But I want to appeal to you guys. I don't want you guys to feel bored watching my videos. And I get it. It's a long video. But I promise you, if you guys subscribe and like this video and give it a comment if you want, that would be awesome. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you guys consider the lessons you have learned in this video. Thank you so much. You have a good day, a good afternoon, a good evening, or a good night. Thank you.